All right, Miles, let's talk Miami Dolphins here for a little bit. This is a team that, coming from where they were a couple of years ago, their trajectory is up, all kinds of momentum. They're young, they're fun and exciting. And we've got some huge news about a very interesting report that's indicating how bright the Miami Dolphins' future is as they keep going on this trend and building all the momentum they have in that franchise right now.
Yeah, Nick, very exciting franchise. A lot of stuff is going on, but some stuff maybe isn't quite fitting the way that it should on either side of the ball. There might be some players who have a little bit of a too bloated contract, isn't fitting in with the scheme. You never know what the case may be. So that's why we want to ask the Dolphins fans, in their infinite knowledge of this team, who are you thinking is a likely cut candidate? Or maybe even, a large restructure. They gotta start taking some less money. Who are you eyeballing? Where is the Dolphins gonna save some money? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what other big news is happening down in Miami?
Yeah, so anytime you want to be a contending team, you need to get the big things right. You need to have the right coach, which I think the Dolphins do in Mike McDaniel. You need to have the right quarterback, which I think Tua is. The next step is to surround that right quarterback and the right coach with elite level veteran talent. If you can afford young talent if possible, but most likely you want veteran guys, savvy guys who have been there before. And the key to getting those guys, because they're expensive, veteran guys cost a little more, obviously, is to get them to want to play for you and come to you for cheap. And none other than rival Buffalo Bills safety Jordan Poyer had some interesting comments on his podcast, the Jordan Poyer podcast. This is a person called Tilly on Twitter actually tweeted out from his podcast. This is quoting Poyer from his show, though. A quote, "Shout out to my dog, Tua. A lot of Bills fans will like that I am friends with Tua. Really good dude, huge fan of Tua. Dude's a baller. Got a lot of respect for him in his craft." Poyer was also excited to see Mike McDaniel down there in Miami, too. Then he was asked later in his podcast, I think here's the big kicker, Mice. Poyer said, quote, "I would love to go to a state that doesn't take half of my money." Obviously, New York State's very expensive. Florida's very cheap. "If it wasn't Buffalo, it would be nice to be warm. Buffalo's cold. Miami's warm. There's a little trend growing here. I do want to keep playing. I do want to help a team win a championship. The Dolphins are a playoff team. They're a good team." All right, Mike. So you look at Poyer's comments here and everything he's saying. The direction is, it's clear, right? He's kind of coyly jumping around it, but he'd be perfectly happy going to Miami and playing for the Dolphins. And we just see this with momentum building this franchise. I mean, look at top tier contenders in the AFC. The Bengals are on the top of the list. How many people want to go to Cincinnati? I lived in Baltimore. You're a big fan of the Ravens. Baltimore is not fun like Miami is fun. It certainly isn't warm like Miami is. The Patriots, cold, right? Buffalo, cold. The Jets, it's New York, cold. It's expensive, all those kind of things. When you look at all those other factors among the top contenders in the AFC, Miami jumps off the page easily. And I think over these next few years, from the fact that the Dolphins are good and have coach right and quarterback right, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of veteran guys like Jordan Poyer here really want to come down to Miami, come down to South Beach and join the Miami Dolphins and just kind of push them over the top to the championship. Give me your thoughts on everything going on with Miami right now, especially these comments here by Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, Nick, I like it because I like Poyer. He's a very good player for the Bills. He's probably like one of the lifeblood of that secondary back there with Hyde. They're very good players. And the thing I see when I look at Miami is they're relatively young around the secondary. Other than Xavier Howard, who, he was drafted in 2016. You got Javon Holland, 2021 guy. You got Brandon Jones, 2020 guy. You got the rookie last year, Kader Kohu, 2022. Then you got Byron Jones, who by all accounts it seems as if he either won't be with the team next year or he's going to retire. So you really don't know what's going to have there. Then you look at a guy like Poyer. He's been around the league for a very long time. He was a 2013 draft guy. So this is a guy who has a lot of experience. He was a captain for Buffalo. He was a very vocal player on that team. A lot of people credit their success on the back end to having Poyer. There's big difference on the field when he is or isn't playing. So I really think having a guy like this as a veteran leader for that back end of the secondary for a bunch of young players would be very, very interesting in Miami. I think it's an intriguing pickup if the numbers line up right. He was multi-time Pro Bowler. He's been a very solid player. So I don't know if he's going to, take top end money, but he would be a very interesting pickup to this Miami secondary.
Oh, for sure. And you brought up a great point. The fact that the Dolphins have a lot of young players in the secondary, and you're going to start seeing that, right? You compare it with the Kansas City Chiefs. When you start paying your quarterback and you start paying big time playmakers, the Dolphins will probably have to pay Tua. They're already paying Tyreek Hill big money, locked up Bradley Chubb, Terran Armstead. You have to do a lot with younger guys and rookies. We've seen this with the Chiefs the past couple of years. And when you have a lot of young guys on the field, what do we always say? You want to have one savvy vet just kind of keeping the glue together, right? Because it's these young guys, we see it all the time. They make mistakes, they make mental mistakes, bad plays, but the young savvy guy or the veteran savvy guy kind of keeps it together, keeps the momentum flowing, keeps everybody stable and calm. Tyrann Mathieu kind of had that role with the Chiefs for the number of years. There's a lot of cases of that in the NFL. You saw with the Eagles on the front four with a guy like Brandon Graham. He was kind of the emotional leader kind of deal. So that's exactly what you kind of want if you're the Miami Dolphins. As you start spending more money at some of these star positions, having those glue veteran guys that kind of keep the rookies that make up the balance of your roster in line and in check. And when you have a place, and I want to go back to this point here, Miles, when you're in a city like Miami that right now, when you compare it with basically the rest of the competitors at the top of the AFC, the only one I can think of that's close is what, Nashville. And I love Nashville, but it's no Miami, right? I went to my honeymoon in Miami, loved it. It was a great time. It's a cheap state, it's a fun city, all kind of energy, good vibes. Mike McDaniel seems like a really cool dude. The Dolphins are willing to do what it takes to win. They've spent big in draft capital and obviously signed Tyreek Hill to a big deal. They traded for Bradley Chubb, so they're aggressive. They're trying to win as soon as they can. The window for opening is kind of right now, right? You got the Jets, who knows what they are. The Patriots aren't great. The Bills seem to be on a little bit of a decline. They could be heading downhill. So I think the fact when you put in all these factors together, Miles, it looks like the trend for Miami just continues to be up. And right now, the future doesn't look any brighter than it could right now for those guys.
Yeah, Nick, one last point I want to put out there. Everyone knows I was gone for a while. I was on a cruise. We actually came back to port in Miami. I got off the boat. It's February, March, right at the edge here. It was a nice 80, 70 degrees out there. Shorts, beautiful weather, beautiful city. Buffalo right now, it looks like it's going to snow on Friday and Saturday, high of 35. So very big difference in the temperature there. And like you said, it definitely is a really, really nice change of pace.